Next, we have exclusions. And an exclusion is something we'll hear politicians say a lot. This is, to the best of my knowledge, as far as I recall, if memory serves, if I recall correctly, as far as I understand it, and those kinds of phrases. But to grade a person for exclusions, we have to have a reasonable question that implies their own knowledge. As an example, if I ask you if any of your neighbors have drugs, illegal drugs in their house, you could say, not as far as I know, and that would be truthful. But if I asked you about your own house and you said, not as far as I know, that is a deception indicator. So there's the difference. So rating somebody on exclusions really depends on the question. And chronology is next. And I'm going to try to just skip through these a little quicker than normal. Chronology means that a person has rehearsed a story and they're telling it start to finish. If something emotional happened and we're questioned about it, we'll typically start at the emotional point of the interaction. And that means, like, if you get into a car accident and you call your friend says, hey, what's up? You're not going to start from when you woke up and shampooed your hair and got in the shower and made coffee. You're going to say, hey, I got into a frickin' car accident. If you were involved in some kind of serious incident and the police say, tell me what happened, you're going to start at probably right at that incident, not at the beginning of the day, not before the incident happened. We'll typically start at the emotional part, when the emotions start. And everybody here, anybody watching this, we've all rehearsed a story before. We've all made up lies before, especially when we're teenagers. And just think back to that. We've got all the details, we've got all the facts, and then we start telling the story. Of course, we say it chronologically because that's how we rehearsed it. But what if I was your dad? You came home, told the story, and I said, oh, that sounds like a rough night. Why don't you take me from the end and walk me back to the beginning, backwards? Think about this. How many times have you said the alphabet? 50,000, 100,000 times? But we still have a tremendous amount of difficulty saying it backwards because we've rehearsed it forwards. Truthful events we can recall in reverse without a lot of hesitation. You can walk me from right now, what you're doing watching me now, to 24 hours ago of pretty much everything that happened. And we might miss a few details, but we won't have difficulty hopping backwards in truthful time. So that's chronology. The chin thrust is only on the behavioral table of elements because of academic research. I have never seen it in 20,000 hours of interrogation. And I've never seen it in deception one time in my entire life. But apparently, at universities, when you pay some little pot-smoking kid to come in there, sit in front of a guy in a lab coat and ask him to lie, and the guy is pretending to lie for 20 bucks or whatever they get for participating in the experiment, they do a chin thrust behavior. I've only ever seen it in academic studies, never in real life, but it is there. And typically the chin thrust is a disdain or contempt for a person in front of us. Us primates like to expose our vital organs to other primates when we want to challenge them or show them how cool and tough and non-afraid that we are. We've all seen people like get into a fight, kind of spread their arms out and their chin goes up. It's the same thing. It's just on a micro level. The confirmation glance is really cool because in sales, you'll see people do confirmation glances all the time. And the way that it looks is if there's two of us, I'm a suspect or a person getting interviewed. I've got my friend right here and you are the interviewer. And you ask me a question. The confirmation glance, right before I answer your question, I'm going to look over at my friend and then answer the question. Now in sales, this will tell you who the decision maker is, who receives the confirmation glances, not the giver, the recipient of them. And the second way this happens, if there's two police officers, so if you're the interviewer and there's another interviewer over here, and you ask me a question, I'll address you the entire time or most of the time. And after I'm done answering, I'll look at the other interviewer to make sure that they bought my story as well. And that's confirmation glance, but it tells you who's in charge. And the Adam's apple raise is men and women, but it's this upward movement of this part of the throat. It looks like this. And it's exactly what we do before we swallow, as our throat is preparing to swallow. As anxiety increases and adrenaline starts going up, we have a little bit of excess production of saliva at the beginning of that, and our throat gets prepared to swallow something, to swallow that excess saliva. And that's an Adam's apple raise. It'll typically happen while the question is being asked or before their answer comes out. And the single-sided shrug we talked about. This is the one-sided shoulder shrug that indicates a lack of confidence in what somebody is saying. So we have let's say we're talking to a victim even, and we say, are you sure that's what the suspect looked like during the crime scene? They go, yeah, that's what he looked like. And you see the shoulder go up. Or you're talking to a person and you're a financial advisor. And you say, are you sure these are all your accounts? And they go, yeah, that's everything. And you see the shoulder go up. That's a lack of confidence in what's being said. So that's important in all walks of life. Throat clasping is just anytime the hands touch the throat. It doesn't matter when it occurs, but it's something we need to pay attention to and what caused it. So if I'm not doing an interview or an interrogation, when did this person touch their throat and what was being said just before that behavior happened? Same with all of these. And next we have hushing. And this is the strongest deception indicator that there is, the most reliable deception indicator. Not the most powerful, because it's still a 4.0. So hushing, by definition, according to me, is anything that obscures that person's mouth from your view. So if they're listening like this while they're answering the question, that's hushing. If they're scratching their nose in a way that covers their mouth during the conversation, that's hushing as well. But the finger to nose, if you see this 2 spaces down here, the finger to nose is also a deception indicator. So if they're touching their nose that in a way that covers their mouth, that makes it an 8. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. And this typically occurs during that person's answer, so while they're talking. Genital protection is something we talked about in the last session. And this is where we typically see women reach across their bodies with one arm and cover the uterus area, and males reach into the center part of their bodies and cover their genitals with their hands. But I want you to think of it in movement. So if a man's hand is on his leg, and the moment that you start talking about a certain topic or subject, and you see that hand start moving in towards the crotch area, that's genital protection. That's the movement of that behavior. Ventilation, we did that. Ventilation 3.0. These are all 3.0 behaviors. Is any behavior designed to cool off the body? And we know what that looks like. But there's one that we typically don't think of as ventilation, and it occurs mostly in women. And this is that when a woman is experiencing stress, their body gets a little bit warmer, just like ours does as men. But they have hair going down the back of their neck, and you'll see women move their hair off the back of their neck to let air in, or pull their hair over here to cool off the back of their neck, because it gets hot in there for women. And that's ventilation. Elbow closure is typically something you'll only see in a seated position. So someone's arms are on a table, and as they're acting like they agree with you or they're listening to you say something, their elbows go from here to here. So their elbows are drawing in towards their body. And if you remember, fear makes us move faster, but it also makes our body get smaller. So this is also a fear behavior, not just stress. So if you think about what fear does, if you go on YouTube and watch like a people getting scared compilation, and you see people getting the crap scared out of them, all of their faces do the same thing. All their bodies do pretty much the same thing. Shoulders go up, The head goes down. These arms, these upper part of our arms here, the humerus, sticks in towards the torso. And that's the body trying to protect its arteries. Fear makes the body automatically become smaller and protect its arteries. And this is all because of big cats, saber-toothed tigers, and whatnot. And if anybody in here has ever studied micro expressions or facial expressions, the first muscle that moves in the fear facial expression is called the submetaclastoid muscle. And it's right here on the sides of your neck. And the fear facial expression pulls your mouth back down because your neck is going and tensing up. And that metaclastoid muscle actually kind of jumps in front of your carotid artery to protect it. And I thought that was pretty cool when I learned that. Fear makes your body protect arteries. Freeze behavior is just that a person is normally moving and fluid, and when a topic is mentioned, their body freezes. That's it. Palms down does not mean the still image of someone slapping their hands onto a table. It's from the hands are sitting on a table, they're just resting on a table, and they're nodding their head, and their hands go down. That's palms down. Foot withdrawal is only a 3.0 if they do not lean forward. So typically, especially men, if they pull their feet behind a chair, they will lean forward at the same time. But if the feet go into the chair and there's no forward lean, then it's a 3.0 on the stress/deception scale. And then we have timing. Timing is about how things occur. So someone says, absolutely not, and then they start nodding their head no. Or we watched the video of Scott Peterson, who said, I absolutely loved my wife, and then he starts shaking his head no. We were in a great relationship. And he said the word loved past tense before they discovered that she was dead. So there's a lot with timing. Someone says, I'm sick of this, and then leans back and crosses their arms. So the timing is important because your facial expressions like happiness occur at the same time as the emotion. They're simultaneous. So in real life, if we're talking about anything, our body, if the movement is natural and real, it will be in perfect rhythm with whatever's being expressed through the mouth. And that's what timing is.